A single dad thought he was saving a stranger on the side of the road. He had no idea that stranger was about to save everything he had left to lose: his daughter, his name, his whole future. This is that story. And if stories about betrayal and karma finally catching up, stay with me till the end. Hit subscribe now because trust me, you don't want to miss where this one goes. My name's Dominic Ashworth. Everybody just calls me Dom. I run a small auto shop that used to be my father's out on the edge of town, the kind of place where the same regulars have been coming in for 20 years. And I'm raising my daughter Renly on my own. She's 9. Her mom passed 2 years ago, and I still haven't figured out how to fold laundry the way her mom used to. Life since then has just been surviving, mostly. Burnt toast in the morning, mismatched socks, missing half of Ren's school things because I'm elbow deep in someone's transmission. But we were doing okay, or at least I thought we were. After my wife passed, her brother, Trent, stepped in to help with the books at the shop, said I had enough on my plate raising Ren alone, said family takes care of family, and I believed him. Why wouldn't I? He came to every birthday, he picked Ren up from school sometimes when I got stuck at work. He'd sit across from me at the kitchen table going over numbers, telling me not to worry about the slow months, that it evens out. I trusted him with everything. Looking back now, that trust is exactly what he was counting on. There were signs, small ones, the kind you talk yourself out of because the alternative is too heavy to carry. The shop stayed booked solid, cars in and out every day, but the money never matched. Trent always had an explanation. Parts costs went up, insurance renewal, a slow month somewhere I didn't remember being slow. I told myself I was just bad at reading spreadsheets. That's what he wanted me to think. Then one afternoon, Ren came home from school and mentioned, real casual, like it was nothing, that Uncle Trent had picked her up and they talked about what might happen if she ever had to live somewhere else. Just in case, he told her, just in case things changed. I remember standing in the kitchen, holding a dish towel, feeling my stomach drop straight through the floor. In case of what? She was 9. Nobody tells a 9-year-old to prepare for just in case unless they're already building towards something. I told myself I was overthinking it. I wasn't. It was a Tuesday night, late, coming back from meeting Trent at some diner he insisted on, going on about keeping things friendly between us for Ren's sake. I remember feeling uneasy the whole drive home, replaying the conversation, trying to figure out what he was really getting at. That's when I saw the car, flipped off the shoulder, smoke curling up into the headlights. I didn't think. I just pulled over and ran. I got the door open somehow, glass everywhere, and pulled a woman out just as the smell of gas got thicker in the air. We didn't even make it 20 feet before I heard sirens coming. She was shaking, bleeding from her forehead, gripping my arm like I was the only solid thing left in the world. I stayed with her till the paramedics took over. Didn't even get her name that night. Just adrenaline, and then it was over. A few days later, she showed up at my shop. Car needed some work after the accident, and she said she wanted to thank the guy who pulled her out properly. Her name was Odessa Marsh, forensic accountant, she told me, between contracts at the moment. We got to talking while she worked on her car, and somewhere in there I made an offhand comment about how buried I was in my own shop's paperwork. Half joking, I asked if she'd take a look, just a second opinion, nothing formal. She didn't say much that first look, just kept flipping pages, quiet, her eyebrows pulling together tighter each time she turned one. Then she looked up at me and said, "Wait, this doesn't add up." 4 words. That's all it took to crack something open in me that I didn't even know was sealed shut. She came back a few more times that week, said something about the numbers bothering her, said she couldn't walk away from it when she'd seen it. Invoices billed twice, vendor payments going to accounts I'd never heard of, money moving in patterns that made sense to someone who actually understood what they were looking at, and none of it made sense coming from me. I hadn't approved any of it. I didn't even know some of these vendors existed. I remember sitting there at my own kitchen table, watching her lay it all out, and feeling my whole chest go cold, because I already knew, somewhere underneath all the denial, exactly whose name was going to be at the center of it. It got worse before I had any time to process it. Trent filed paperwork, actual legal paperwork, questioning my financial stability, using it as grounds to push for guardianship of Wren, my daughter. He used the very debt he created, the mess he built behind my back, as evidence that I couldn't take care of my own kid. He wasn't just stealing my money, he was building a case to take my daughter with it. All those years playing the good uncle, it was never about family. It was about making himself the only option left standing when everything I had fell apart. I confronted him at the shop. I couldn't wait for lawyers or paperwork. I needed to look him in the eye. I remember my voice cracking as I asked him how long had he been doing this right under my roof, right in front of my daughter. He didn't even flinch, just crossed his arms and said, "After everything I've done for you and Wren, this is what I get?" Like I was the one who owed him something. I raised my voice, I'll admit that. Years of grief and exhaustion and trust, all of it came out at once, and I wasn't exactly quiet about it. He shoved me hard into the workbench behind me, tools clattering everywhere. For 1 second, 1 full second, I wanted to swing back. Every muscle in me wanted to. But then I saw Wren standing in the doorway, her backpack still on her shoulders, eyes wide, watching her dad and her uncle come apart in front of her. I didn't hit him. I just stood there, breathing hard, staring at a man I used to call family and realizing I didn't know him at all. Odessa didn't stop after that first conversation at my kitchen table. Something about the whole thing bothered her, professionally and personally, I think, because she kept digging, said once you see fraud like that, you can't just look away from it. She traced the shell accounts back further, found one registered under Trent's wife's maiden name, found forged signatures that were sloppy once you knew what to look for. She built the whole thing out, piece by piece, into something no judge could wave away. She also reached out, quietly, to someone she knew in family court services, made sure the real financial picture, the one Trent had buried, actually made it into the guardianship hearing before he could spin his version first. The hearing came fast after that. Trent walked in looking like a man who already knew he'd won, like this was just a formality he had to sit through before getting exactly what he wanted. I remember my hands shaking under the table, Odessa sitting a few rows back, this folder of evidence resting in the lawyer's hands like a loaded question waiting to be asked. They asked for the financial records. The real ones. Everything Odessa traced, laid out clean and impossible to argue with. I watched Trent's face while they read through it, the forged signatures, the fake vendor, the money trail that led straight back to accounts with his name buried underneath it. I watched 2 years of lies fall apart in about 4 minutes. His jaw tightened, his legs started bouncing under the table. He kept glancing at the door like he was calculating how far he'd get if he just stood up and walked. The custody claim didn't just get denied, it got thrown out entirely, and not long after, the fraud charges followed. I remember sitting there, watching 2 officers walk him out of that building, past people who used to think he was the reliable one, the responsible one, the guy who helped his sister's husband after she passed, and I didn't feel like celebrating. I thought I would. I thought there'd be this rush of relief, maybe even satisfaction. Instead, I just felt tired, like I'd been holding my breath for 2 years, and finally, I could let it out. I picked Wren up from school myself that day, just me. No explanations needed, no just-in-case conversations. She climbed in the truck, tossed her backpack on the floor, and asked what was for dinner like it was any other Tuesday. And maybe that's what karma actually looks like sometimes. Not fireworks, not some dramatic collapse, just an ordinary afternoon, finally being allowed to stay ordinary. The shop's still recovering, slowly, legitimately this time. I went through every account myself with Odessa's help, closed out the fake vendors, renegotiated what I could, paid down what was left honestly instead of hiding from it. It's not fixed overnight. Debt like that doesn't just disappear just because the person who caused it gets caught. But at least now, every dollar that moves through that shop, I actually understand where it's going. Odessa is still around. Not in some rushed, dramatic way, nothing like the movies make it out to be. She just stayed. Started coming by on weekends, sometimes bringing something for dinner, sometimes just sitting with Ren doing homework at the kitchen table while I closed up the shop. It's slow. It's real. And honestly, after everything, slow and real is exactly what I needed. I think about that night on the road sometimes, how I pulled over without even thinking twice, how I got her out of that car with my hand shaking and gas fumes thick in the air, thinking I was just doing what anyone would do. I never imagined that same woman would end up being the one who pulled my daughter and my whole family out of a wreck I didn't even know I was sitting inside of. Funny how that works. I thought I was the one doing the saving that night. Turns out she was the one who pulled my family out of the wreck, and I don't think I'll ever stop being grateful that I stopped the truck that night, that I ran toward the smoke instead of past it, because sometimes the stranger you help without a second thought turns out to be exactly who was meant to help you back, right when you needed it most.
If this story hit something in you, if it made you think about trust, about family, about karma actually catching up, the people who think they will never get caught, do me a favor, hit like on this one, share it with somebody who needs a reminder that things do come back around, no way or another. And if you want more stories like this, real, raw, the kind that stick with you, subscribe because there's more coming. Take care of the people who actually deserve your trust and watch closely for the ones who don't.